Some cities don't need whites-only signs to let you know you're not welcome. They've got policies, police stops, zoning laws, and that look you get at the grocery store. And if you're black in America, you already know what I'm talking about. Welcome to 10 U.S. cities that are basically anti-black zones. Avoid these if you value your peace. Because yes, in 2025, entire cities still operate like they missed the civil rights memo. These aren't random towns with one bad incident. These are places where systemic discrimination has been franchised, normalized, and dressed up in gentrified charm. Cities where you can find yoga studios, $15 lattes, and a whole lot of diversity talk. Just don't ask to rent an apartment, walk around after dark, or speak up at the school board meeting. We're talking about the top 10 cities black people should avoid like the plague. The dangerous cities for black people no one wants to admit are still a thing. From anti-black cities in America to hostile towns for African Americans, we're pulling no punches. Stay tuned, because the worst offender might be the one hiding behind the biggest smile. Hit that like button, subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian, and share this before someone signs that lease. Number 10. Boston, Massachusetts. Progressive, but don't get too comfortable. Boston loves to call itself the cradle of liberty, but if you're black, it often feels more like the cradle of microaggressions, police stops, and generational wealth gaps so wide they might as well be the Grand Canyon. This city is where black excellence goes to get questioned, undermined, and politely ignored. Now don't get me wrong, Boston's got world-class hospitals, top-tier universities, and enough Ivy League credentials to fill a library. But all that prestige comes wrapped in a tight little bow of "you don't belong here." From downtown office buildings to Beacon Hill brownstones, the vibe is clear. Black folks can visit, maybe work here, but don't expect to feel at home. Let's hit you with some facts. The median net worth for white families in Boston? Over $247,000. For black families? $8. That's not a typo. That's a two-digit number. You could carry that in loose change. Generational wealth in this city skipped over black communities like we were invisible. And the housing discrimination? Oh, it's alive and kicking. Rent in the black neighborhoods that used to be affordable has shot up thanks to gentrification that's wiping out community faster than a college intern with a highlighter. Roxbury and Dorchester, once cultural hubs, are now playgrounds for tech bros who think reggae is just lo-fi with drums. And let's talk about policing. Remember the Charles Stewart case? A white man killed his wife and blamed it on a fictitious black suspect, and the Boston PD went on a rampage, harassing black men all over the city. That was the 80s, but ask any local, we're still paying for it in 2025. Even black college students, those bringing in the diversity schools love to advertise, get stopped and questioned on their own campuses. You've got to wonder, how many Ivy League degrees does it take before you're seen as a human being here? Boston is the kind of city that puts Black Lives Matter signs in its windows while clutching its purse when you walk by. It's woke on paper, but asleep at the wheel when it comes to real equity. So yeah, move to Boston if you like lobster rolls, Red Sox games, and getting mistaken for the janitor in your own office building. Otherwise, you might want to take that U-Haul and keep driving. Number 9. St. Louis, Missouri, where segregation never left, it just changed zip codes. If American cities were playing hide-and-seek with racism, St. Louis wouldn't even bother hiding. It's been out in the open since day one, and in 2025, it's still putting on a masterclass in how to keep black folks boxed in, stressed out, and constantly under watch. Let's get something straight. This isn't about hating the people. There are strong, beautiful black communities in St. Louis who've built resilience out of struggle. But the system, it was built to break you. We're talking about a city where the median income for black households is nearly half that of white households, where public schools in majority black areas get fewer resources than a suburban rec center, where being black and breathing can get you stopped by police for matching a description, even if the description is just black male. This is the same city that became ground zero for the modern racial justice movement when police killed Michael Brown just a few miles away in Ferguson. And yet here we are, a decade later, and black drivers in Missouri are still 91% more likely to be stopped by police than white drivers. That's not reform, that's rinse and repeat. And don't get me started on the Delmar Divide. That infamous street cuts the city in two, literally. North of Delmar, predominantly black. Underfunded schools, abandoned buildings, and food deserts. South of Delmar, predominantly white. Trendy cafes, new construction, and Whole Foods on every corner. It's like crossing into a different country with one turn of the wheel. Economic development? Oh, that's happening, but not for us. You see the cranes and condos, but the jobs don't come with it. Black neighborhoods get revitalized, which usually means you're about to be priced out. Rent spikes, businesses close, and the culture gets replaced by a brewery and a yoga studio that plays trap music on Sundays for diversity. So yeah, if you hate yourself, go ahead and move to St. Louis. Enjoy the beautiful brick homes and barbecue while watching your neighborhood slowly vanish under urban renewal. But if you want to keep your peace, your dignity, and your sanity, St. Louis is a hard no. Because when a city's motto might as well be, survive if you can, you've got to ask, why live somewhere that treats your existence like a problem? Number 8. Portland, Oregon. So progressive, it loops back to passive-aggressive racism. On the surface, Portland looks like a utopia for crunchy liberals. Bike lanes, compost bins, coffee shops on every corner. But scratch just one layer below that artisanal latte foam, and you'll find a city where black folks are treated more like endangered species than citizens. You're rare, yes? Respected? Not so much. Portland loves to parade its progressive values like a badge of honor. It's got rainbow flags, anti-fascist graffiti, and more diversity slogans than actual diversity. The truth. Black people make up less than 6% of the population, and that number is shrinking every year. Why? Because Portland is a masterclass in performative inclusivity. You'll hear folks say Black Lives Matter while gentrifying historically black neighborhoods like Albina into oblivion. Once thriving black-owned businesses have been replaced with dog yoga studios and oat milk dispensaries. The community was pushed out by rising rents, over-policing, and the slow drip of cultural erasure, masked as urban renewal. Let's talk history. Oregon was literally founded as a white utopia. The state constitution originally banned black people from even living here. They've updated the laws, but the legacy lingers like an unpaid debt. Black residents still report higher rates of housing discrimination, employment bias, and harassment by police, especially in a city that once had one of the highest Ku Klux Klan memberships west of the Rockies. And that friendly liberal energy? It often turns into "I voted for Obama, so I can't be racist" gaslighting. You might be the only black person in your workplace, your apartment building, and your Whole Foods, and you'll still be asked, "Where are you really from?" Cops here don't shoot first like in the South, but that doesn't mean you're safe. Surveillance, profiling, and being treated like a walking anomaly are part of the daily vibe. There's a reason why Portland's black population, especially young professionals, keeps leaving. So, sure, move to Portland if your idea of diversity is being the only black face in your office photo and getting invited to Juneteenth brunch hosted by white vegans. But don't say we didn't warn you when that inclusion starts to feel more like isolation. In a city where they'll protest for you but won't sit next to you at the bar, ask yourself, is this allyship or just white guilt with better branding? Number 7. Huntington Beach, California. Sun, surf, and systemic racism. Ah, California, the land of sunshine, beaches, and that fake liberal smile that turns into a scowl when you walk past their patio brunch. Now zoom in on Huntington Beach. Beautiful coastline? Absolutely. Laid-back surfers and sunsets? You bet. But if you're black, all that beauty comes with the subtle stench of racial hostility that even the ocean breeze can't wash away. Huntington Beach isn't just another beach town. It's a stronghold of far-right rallies, Confederate flags tucked into truck beds, and the kind of neighbors who think diversity means hiring a Filipino nanny. This is the same place where actual white supremacists held rallies in broad daylight, and folks came out in support, not just to protest, but to proudly wave their flags like it was 1955. Now you might think, that's just a vocal minority, right? Wrong. The city has a long, baked-in culture of exclusion. The demographics tell you everything. Over 77% white, and black residents make up less than 1% of the population. Not that they're unwelcome, They're just reminded constantly that they're not from around here. Try taking a casual stroll down the pier and see how many people actually smile, or even make eye contact. Expect the long stares, the purse clutches, the awkward silences when you walk into boutique shops or restaurants where the staff acts like you're part of a social experiment. And don't even think about trying to get your hair done, unless you're into bleach blondes and beachy waves. Then there's the policing. You know that I pay your salary energy some white folks love to flex with cops? Yeah, black folks don't get to do that in Huntington Beach. The police have been accused of profiling, excessive force, and turning a blind eye when locals act up, so long as they're not black or brown. Huntington Beach also made headlines for resisting pandemic safety measures and anti-racism efforts at the same time. That tells you everything. A place that sees wearing a mask as oppression but shrugs off racism as overblown, that's a red flag wrapped in a beach towel. So yeah, if you're black and looking for ocean views and open hostility, this might be your dream city. But if you enjoy peace of mind with your palm trees, keep driving down the Pacific Coast Highway. Huntington Beach is not where your joy lives. Number 6. Salt Lake City, Utah, where being black feels like a solo mission. You ever walk into a room and instantly feel like you just broke some unwritten rule? That's Salt Lake City if you're black. It's got mountain views, clean air, and the kind of peace that comes from knowing you're the only black person for miles. And not in a romantic, I'm the pioneer kind of way. More like, do they even sell cocoa butter here? Let's start with the obvious. Utah is about 1.5% black statewide, and Salt Lake City itself only barely improves on that. So yes, you'll get noticed. Not in a, hey, welcome kind of way, but in a, did you take a wrong exit off the interstate kind of way. Whether it's the double takes at the grocery store, or the sudden silence when you walk into a room full of khakis and Patagonia vests, that you don't belong energy follows you like a shadow. Salt Lake City is home to the headquarters of the LDS Church, and while the church has made attempts at inclusivity, its history is steeped in racial exclusion. Black men couldn't even hold priesthood positions until 1978. That's not ancient history. That's when your auntie had her first perm. And while times have changed, the social culture still feels stuck in a hymn book written before desegregation. Now let's talk lifestyle. If you're looking for a thriving black cultural scene, prepare to be disappointed. Want a soul food spot? Better start cooking. Need a black barber? Good luck, unless you're okay with a fade that screams youth pastor. Trying to date? Hope you're into explaining microaggressions to your partner every single day. The lack of community means isolation isn't just emotional, it's logistical. And don't be fooled by the low-crime safe city narrative. Black people here still face over-policing and disproportionate stops, especially if you dare drive something nicer than a Corolla. You're not dangerous, you're just not expected. That makes you a question mark, and in some cities, that's all it takes to become a target. So yes, Salt Lake has natural beauty, great snow, and a low cost of living. But if you're black, it also comes with the psychological cost of cultural starvation, racial tokenism, and social invisibility. Unless you're a hardcore introvert or a missionary with nerves of steel, Salt Lake will wear you down faster than a winter blizzard on bald tires. Are you seeing a pattern here? If you've ever packed up and moved somewhere that looked good on paper, but felt like a daily identity crisis, drop a comment below and let us know where. And if you're finding this list a little too relatable, hit that like button and subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian, where we tell it like it is for black folks navigating this wild country. Number 5. Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Segregation ain't gone, it's just gotten comfortable. Milwaukee is one of those cities that keeps showing up on most livable lists, but only if you're white, wealthy, and into craft breweries. For black folks, this city feels like a trap disguised as a neighborhood. It's a place where opportunity and oppression exist on opposite sides of the freeway. And guess which side we usually end up on? This city has one of the highest black-white segregation rates in the entire country. And I don't mean the we kinda live in different suburbs type of separation. I mean redline neighborhoods, concrete barriers of inequality, and a school system that's basically no child left behind unless they're black. The north side of Milwaukee is overwhelmingly black, under-resourced, and over-policed. Meanwhile, head just 10 minutes south, and you're in a different universe. Tree-lined streets, lattes with foam art, and not a single cop car in sight. It's like watching two cities coexist awkwardly on the same block, except only one of them is getting tax breaks and new playgrounds. Now let's talk numbers. Milwaukee's black unemployment rate is routinely more than double the white rate. Black homeownership? Barely above 25%. The city is quick to bulldoze entire communities for development, but somehow can't find funding for lead pipe replacement or public school upgrades. You'll see million-dollar developments pop up overnight while black children still drink brown water out of school fountains. The prison pipeline here is its own horror story. Wisconsin incarcerates black men at one of the highest rates in the nation, and Milwaukee is the epicenter. Entire generations of black families have been broken apart not by crime, but by a system that's more interested in control than rehabilitation. And then there's the everyday experience. Driving while black? Prepare to be stopped. Shopping while black? Expect surveillance. Existing while black? You'll be treated like an outsider in a city where your ancestors helped build the damn infrastructure. What's even more frustrating is the city's love affair with diversity branding. The festivals, the murals, the lip service. But let a black family try to buy a home in a so-called up-and-coming neighborhood, and suddenly, crickets. Or worse, code enforcement. So yeah, Milwaukee may have charm, but it's got trauma too, and black folks carry the brunt of it. Unless you enjoy systemic disrespect paired with lakeside views, this ain't the city for your healing era. Number 4. Charleston, West Virginia, where time stopped and inclusion never started. If you've ever wondered what it would feel like to time travel to 1954 without the cool cars or jazz clubs, Charleston, West Virginia is your destination. The state capital might have City of Progress slapped on a few road signs, but don't let the slogan fool you. Progress left this place behind like an unpaid bill. Charleston is the kind of city where, as a black person, you don't just feel like the minority, you feel like the only. Black folks make up a microscopic 6% of the population here, and that number feels even smaller when you're trying to find a barber, a church, or just another soul who knows what cocoa butter is for. The city doesn't have a black side of town. It barely has a black side of the street, and while racism here may not wear a hood anymore, it still speaks fluent "bless your heart" and knows how to weaponize politeness with surgical precision. That Southern-style smile? It disappears the minute you ask for a loan, a raise, or equal treatment. Economically, Charleston's struggling, and black residents are struggling even harder. The jobs are either government-adjacent or non-existent, and the few opportunities that do pop up usually come with a side of, you'll have to work twice as hard for half the recognition. It's a place where the bar for black success isn't just high, it's hidden. And don't expect any real community. Charleston doesn't have a significant black cultural district, no HBCUs, no strong black business corridors. It's hard to build community when the city's infrastructure acts like black life here is just a rounding error. You want soul food? You better cook. You want a protest? You better organize it yourself and be ready to explain why it matters to folks who still think MLK's biggest achievement was keeping the peace. As for policing, you won't find national headlines here, but make no mistake, the local police know exactly who to pull over and when. And don't bother complaining, the good old boy network is alive and well, and it doesn't take kindly to folks who rock the boat, especially not black ones. Charleston might not scream racism, it hums it, under its breath, behind its policies, and inside its traditions. So unless you're into cultural starvation and ghost town energy with Confederate undertones, Charleston is the kind of place you move to only if you really hate yourself. Number 3. Minneapolis, Minnesota, where symbolism is loud, but systemic racism is louder. Let's not even waste time. This is the city where George Floyd was murdered, where the world watched a man's life get slowly taken under a cop's knee for 9 minutes and 29 seconds. And while the murals, marches, and hashtags swept through like wildfire, the real question is, what actually changed for black people in Minneapolis? Here's the hard truth: not enough. For all the protests and promises, Minneapolis is still one of the most unequal cities in America when it comes to race. In fact, it has one of the widest racial income gaps in the country. White households in the metro area earn nearly double what black households make. And don't even ask about homeownership. White rates are nearly 3 times higher than black rates. That's not just a gap, that's a canyon. They'll tell you it's liberal. And sure, it votes blue. But political correctness doesn't cancel out centuries of baked-in systemic racism. Black neighborhoods like North Minneapolis are underinvested, over-policed, and slowly being chipped away by gentrification that smells like craft breweries and rent hikes. Policing? Still a mess. Even after all the global attention, Minneapolis PD continues to rack up lawsuits, harassment complaints, and excessive force incidents. A report from the Minnesota Department of Human Rights found the MPD engaged in a pattern of race-based policing, routinely using chemical agents on peaceful protesters and disproportionately targeting black drivers. And it's not just the police. It's the schools, the banks, the hospitals, the hiring managers. Minneapolis is the kind of city where you can get applauded for speaking out about racism and then quietly excluded from every opportunity afterward. This place performs diversity with the passion of a Shakespearean actor. You'll see murals of George Floyd right next to yoga studios built on the ashes of black-owned businesses. You'll hear inclusion in every corporate statement until it's time to hire leadership. Then suddenly, the pipeline's dry. Look, if you enjoy being used as a symbol but ignored as a person, Minneapolis will feel like home. But if you want to live somewhere that walks the walk, this ain't it. Because being black in Minneapolis means watching your pain turned into marketing, your presence turned into optics, and your reality dismissed as complicated. And if that's not emotional violence in slow motion, I don't know what is. Number 2, Harrison, Arkansas, where racism isn't hidden, it's on a billboard. Let's just call it what it is. Harrison, Arkansas is not a place for black folks. Period. This isn't just about bad vibes or microaggressions. We're talking about a town with an international reputation for being openly hostile toward black people. In Harrison, racism isn't tucked away, it's plastered on the damn highway. This is the headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan. And no, not in some symbolic historical sense. We mean current. The Klan is still active here. Still mailing flyers, still recruiting, still proudly existing like it's normal. If you thought sundown towns were dead, Harrison is the undead nightmare that proves you wrong. In fact, there were literal billboards along the road that said things like, "Diversity is a code word for white genocide." And you think that's subtle? Local leaders didn't exactly rush to take them down either. Some of them defended the freedom of speech. That's Harrison, where white supremacy has publicists. The population here is over 94% white. Black residents barely exist. And not because black folks don't want to move here, but because they've been historically driven out and made to stay out. Stories of harassment, intimidation, and outright threats aren't urban legends. They're daily reality for anyone with melanin trying to stop for gas, much less buy property. You don't have to dig for the racism in Harrison. It'll find you at the grocery store, at the gas station, on the sidewalk. You'll get stared down like you just committed a felony just by existing. If you're lucky, it's just side eyes. If you're not, it's hostile questions, phone calls to police, or worse. There's no cultural scene, no support network, no safety net, no HBCUs, no black barbershops, no NAACP chapter. Just churches, guns, flags, and generational paranoia. The town has tried to clean up its image in recent years, released a few PR campaigns, and leaned into tourism. But ask any black traveler who's driven through. That fear in your chest? It's real. You don't need a whites-only sign to know you're not welcome here. Harrison is the kind of place where being black isn't just rare, it's considered a problem. So unless you're filming a documentary on how racism survives in small-town America, this should be the last place on your relocation list. Number 1. Anna, Illinois, where the town name is literally a warning. If Harrison, Arkansas is the billboard, then Anna, Illinois is the coded whisper that never stopped echoing. This is the place where racism isn't just in the air, it's baked into the name. Ask around and folks will tell you Anna stands for Ain't No Nurs Allowed. Yeah, that's not internet folklore, that's real. Whispered history that everybody in Southern Illinois just seems to know. but never wants to talk about out loud. Anna is what happens when a sundown town never updates the software. No need for signs anymore. Every black person in a 200-mile radius already knows what it is. You don't stop here. You don't gas up here. You don't even break down here. Because everything about this place, from its population, to its politics, to its silence, lets you know you are not safe, not welcome, and definitely not wanted. Over 90% of the population is white, and that's not by accident. This place has been actively hostile to black presence for over a century. During the Jim Crow era, Anna was notorious for violently expelling black residents, and that reputation stuck. Generations of black families have passed down the same warning. Drive around it, not through it. And yet somehow in 2025, Anna still exists as if integration never happened. There are no black cultural centers, no black representation in city leadership, no acknowledgement of the town's history outside of academic footnotes and terrified YouTube road trip videos. Oh, they'll smile at you in the diner. They'll serve you at the counter. But don't mistake civility for acceptance. That politeness? It's a fragile mask stretched tight over decades of hate. And if you stay too long, especially after dark, you'll start to feel it. The eyes, the tension, the quiet that creeps in when you're not supposed to be somewhere. The scariest part? Anna doesn't think it has a problem. No one's protesting. No one's trying to reckon with the past. Because to them, this is normal. And that's exactly what makes it so dangerous. So unless you enjoy walking through America's racial time capsule with a target on your back, skip the moving truck. Hell, skip the exit altogether. Anna, Illinois isn't just a bad place for black folks. It's a reminder that some places in America still whisper, "Don't let the sun set on you here," and mean it. America loves to sell the dream. But in these cities, the dream comes with a side of surveillance, suspicion, and spiritual exhaustion. You deserve to live somewhere that doesn't treat your presence like a problem. So if you're planning your next move, choose peace, choose support, and choose community. And please, for the love of mental health, don't choose one of these cities unless you truly hate yourself. Hit that like button, subscribe to Virtual Travel by Brian, and share this with someone who's thinking about moving into the wrong neighborhood. Let's stop each other from walking into emotional traps.